Bills have given us some great memories over the last 20 years. Watch. There he goes. And 2 years ago in 1988. It's tipped and it's caught, and the Bills get a tremendous break as Flip Johnson pulls in the deflection and goes in for the touchdown. The New York Jets were featured in our first game ever, the year 1970. Joe to throw. He's going deep into the corner for Sauer. He's got it. And 14 years later, Bobby Humphrey. All right, look out, Bobby. Hey, wait a minute. Here's Humphrey. Good, take it all the way. He is going to. The Buffalo Bills meet the New York Jets on ABC's Monday Night Football. Are you ready? Yeah. I'm ready. Are you ready? We're ready. Are you ready for some football? A Monday night party. Hey, this is Rockin' Randall, Hank. Ready to get the good time started. From the opening kickoff to the grand finale, it's a Super Bowl season on a ABC. Yes, everybody is a fan. This is the biggest party, man. All my rowdy friends across this land, we all got it started. Yeah, everything is ready, everything is right. Monday Night Football is coming on tonight.
ABC's Monday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets. Brought to you by Dodge. For performance, quality, safety, and value. Welcome home, America. By Ultra Slim Fast, a delicious, healthy way to lose weight fast. By Bud Light, everything else is just a light. And by McDonald's. You know the one. It's McDonald's for food, folks, and fun.
Giant Stadium, the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Giant Stadium, the home to the football Giants as well as the New York Jets, who tonight in an AFC matchup meet the Buffalo Bills, the defending AFC Eastern Division champions. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford along with Al Michaels and Dan Deerdorf. Happy once again you're with us as we take our first look at the all-new New York Jets. New head coach Bruce Coslett. For the past few years, the offensive guru of the Cincinnati Bengals, Dick Steinberg, the new VP and general manager. 21 new faces on this roster, and they have brand new uniforms. It all translates to a 1-1 record in this young 1990s season. They beat Cleveland last week for their first victory. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills, nothing too new. Jim Kelly is the quarterback along with Thurman Thomas, their offensive machine and the backfield, and they have a defense anchored by Bruce Smith, he of the all-pro defensive end. But one thing, Al, that is also not new with these Bills are the internal problems. And they erupted again last week in a humiliating loss 30-7 to Miami, and they were known as the bickering Bills a year ago. And it could be that maybe these problems are keeping a good football team from becoming a great football team.
Frank, this is such a perplexing football team. They sent 5 players to the Pro Bowl last year. They have a quarterback with a $20 million contract. They have a running back who led the league in yards from scrimmage last year. They have an all-pro wide receiver. They have a defense that was considered to be the best in the league 2 years ago. And they have a coach who's a Phi Beta Kappa. That's a pretty good combination, a good recipe. So what's the problem? Well, last year there was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of backbiting. And they certainly hope they don't have the same thing occur in 1990. But after last week's loss to Miami and that very listless and uninspired performance, who knows? It's a big early season game for the Bills. If they win tonight, last week is an aberration. If they lose tonight, it could be 1989 redo. Dan, as far as the Jets are concerned, they talk about it being a breath of fresh air around here, and it certainly is.
Do you think this team needed a breath of fresh air? Oh, you better believe it, Al. Let's look at the New York Jets. This is a team that in the AFC East, hardly football's strongest division, the last 3 years has finished last, next to last, and last once again. Well, how has Bruce Coslett done it? Well, he's rejuvenated some of their veteran ball players, people like Kenny O'Brien and Freeman McNeil. He's got 21 new rookies, 21 new players, as Frank told you, led by rookie #1 draft choice, Blair Thomas out of Penn State. And he's also done it by making their defense play better than the talent level they possess. but he has also done one very important thing. Bruce Coslett has instilled a sense of confidence in the New York Jets. You talk to these guys and they say, no way are we finishing last.
And here they go now, two teams with records of 1-1. Two old original American Football League teams. In fact, these two teams met in the first ever game for each franchise at the Polo Grounds in Manhattan in 1960 before a crowd of 9,000. Pat Leahy, who is the oldest player in the league at the age of 39, to kick off for the Jets. And he sends it down to the 5-yard line where Don Smith, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, returns it out to the 29. And so the Buffalo Bills, who were third in the league in scoring and tops in the conference last year, take over at that spot with Jim Kelly at the helm. Kelly 2 years in the USFL and now in his 5th season with the Buffalo Bills. And with him, the key back is Thurman Thomas. They got rid of Larry Kinnebrew last week. Jamie Mueller's the starting fullback, mainly a blocker. James Lofton and Andre Reed, the wideouts. Pete Metzelaar is a good blocking tight end. And the offensive line, Richard, the longtime veteran, Hall, a Pro Bowler last year. Ballard, the right tackle, over 300 pounds. And the Bills begin from the shotgun with Kelly buying time, pump faking, and then throwing and finding finally Andre Reed, who gets loose and picks up 8, and he's tackled at the 37. It'll be 2nd and 2. Now the Jets defense, and they are guided by Pete Carroll, who came over with Coslett from Cincinnati and Carroll from Minnesota. Stallworth, Mercer, Bird led the team in sacks last year. They've made Loggeman a down lineman. Mott, Clifton, and Kelly are the linebackers. Gordon's on injured reserve. Keep an eye on Tony Stargell, the cornerback. He's a rookie with Hastings on the other side. Washington and Eric McMillan are the safeties. 2nd and 2 from the 37. Thurman Thomas exploits a big hole and takes it out to the 50-yard line. McMillan and Washington, the safeties, converge on the tackle. It's a gain of 13, and the game's initial first down belongs to the Buffalo Bills.
Thurman Thomas last year, of course, over 1,200 yards rushing, and he was just an offensive machine for the Bills. Nearly 2,000 yards of total offense. He was a big holdout this season. He's just now rounding back into shape. So we are going to see a lot of Thurman Thomas tonight.
Right now you see him in the slot to the right out of the shotgun on first down from the 50. And Kelly going deep for Andre Reed, and it's knocked away at the last moment by Michael Mays. Andre Reed had gotten behind him, and Mays appeared to get a finger on it to deflect it.
Boy, if he did, Al, it was a major league effort because Reed was behind him. Kelly had it dead solid perfect.
And Al mentioned a finger. It might not have been more than that. Oh, at the very last minute. Look how Mays extends his left hand, and the ball comes down and hits him right on the back of the hand. That was a stroke of luck on Michael Mays' part, but he played it properly, and he was in position and caught a break.
Tackle saving manicure. 2nd down and 10 from the 50-yard line. The up-back, Jamie Mueller, for a gain of 4, takes it to the 46-yard line. Loggeman and Mott in on the tackle, so at the 46, it'll be 3rd down and 6.
Jamie Mueller, really the only fullback on the Buffalo roster. Larry Kinnebrew is gone. He was released this week after their game last week. So Jamie Mueller going to get his chance. No longer sharing time with the big man, Kinnebrew.
3rd and a long 5 from the 45. They split Lofton to the left, put Don Smith in the slot. Reed at the top of the screen. Kelly sends everybody into the pattern, and it's incomplete. Smith looks for the flag and doesn't get any, and it was Michael Mays again providing the coverage.
Michael Mays here in the opening moments looking for Honolulu in the Pro Bowl. A couple of key plays. How he avoided the pass interference call there, I don't know, because he had to reach right over for the deflection, but he gets it. And forces the Bills into a 4th down and out of field goal range.
A once and present Bill, Rick Tootin, who's been brought back to punt. They drafted a rookie, John Neese, but he didn't fare well last week, so they activated Tootin.
Whoa.
And it's a towering kick. A fair catch is called for by Townsell, who runs into his own man. JoJo Townsell calling for the fair catch, and his own man, John Galvin, who's been terrific on special teams until this particular moment, is the guy who helps the Bills out.
I'm not so sure Townsell ran into his own man.
Oh, give me a break,
I
Galvin.
think his own man ran into Townsell. The hardest hit of the game so far.
Of JoJo Thompson, he was focusing totally on the football, and here comes John Galvin, who was focusing on the man he was going to block, Tasker, and he just kept his eyes riveted on the man he wanted to get, and then he walked. Yeah, somebody walked all over him.
That's Butch Roll, who just decides, I'll step on your throat while you're down on the ground, JoJo. JoJo Townsell, a tough way to get this game started.
Funny thing, too, about that play is the ball bounced backwards, so it actually helped the Jets that Townsell didn't make the fair catch. From the 24-yard line, here is Freeman McNeil, who had a big day last Sunday against Cleveland, helping lead the Jets to that 3-point win over the Browns. Ken O'Brien, he and Tony Eason locked up in preseason in a battle for the #1 spot, and O'Brien emerges. He has with him Freeman McNeil and Brad Baxter. In the backfield with Toon and Rob Moore, the rookie out of Syracuse. Mark Boyer, the former Colt, is the tight end. We'll look at the line in a moment. 2nd and 5 from the 30. And O'Brien's first pass of the game is caught by Toon to a chorus of Toon at the 36-yard line. This is going to be a key to the Jets' success or lack thereof this season, their offensive line. The guys up front, Criswell, Hates, Sweeney, the veteran, Cadigan, and Miller. They're going to have to do a job in protecting O'Brien.
And Jeff Criswell, their number 61, he draws the unlucky assignment of blocking number 78 there, Bruce Smith. That guy's had 7.5 sacks his last 3 games against the Jets.
And O'Brien needs a lot of help. He was sacked 62 times, the league high last year.
Here's Freeman McNeil on a sweep, turning the corner, escapes 1 tackle, picks up the first down, and takes it into Buffalo territory to the 48. Freeman McNeil, who was not protected on touchdown day. The Jets took a rest. They gambled that nobody would pick him up, along with his big salary at the age of 31. They were right. They brought him back, and he picks up the first down here.
And it was even more risky because Blair Thomas, their #1 draft pick, was a holdout. Johnny Hector had a bad knee injury, so it was a gamble that paid off because he was superb last week against Cleveland also.
That quartet of linebackers, outstanding. And there is the Buffalo secondary. Smith, the hard hitter. Kelso, the ball hawk. 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line. This is Baxter. Shaking tackles. And finally hog-tied by Smith after a gain of 12.
Boy, Cornelius Bennett just has a free shot into the backfield and just slides right off. Watch Cornelius Bennett. The lead block misses him completely, and here he is. And boy, there's just no way to explain that. An all-pro player like Bennett is not supposed to miss a tackle like that on Baxter.
And good, strong running after that on the part of Baxter, who came off the Jets development squad a year ago. Look at this. Tough to bring down as he barrels all the way inside the 40.
Did you see that, Frank? Darryl Talley missed a tackle. Bruce Smith missed a tackle. I mean, it was like a Pro Bowl group of players giving an exhibition on how not to tackle.
Play fake and a roll by O'Brien on first down, and he throws, and the catch is made inbounds at the 32 by Chris Dressel, who toe dances the sideline and picks up about 4.
One of the problems against Miami a week ago in that dismal 30-7 loss was the fact they did not get any hitting. They did not get good tackling, and we have witnessed that already. And a good effort there by Dressel to pick up the 4 yards. Concentrating, both toes inbounds.
Gain of 6, gain of 4 rather, 2nd and 6.
They're going to have to hustle this one.
Play clock is all the way down to 5 seconds as the Jets had a little bit of confusion as to who was to come into the game. Al Toon was late in getting to the huddle, and O'Brien has to spend a timeout. 9:11 to go in a scoreless first quarter at Giant Stadium. About 8 miles from Midtown Manhattan as the blimp flies. And it's packed tonight, per usual. Goodyear Blimp Spirit of Akron. Looking down, a crowd of over 75,000. The Jets, after the timeout, have a 2nd and 6 from the 32-yard line. Toss to Hector, and he takes it to the 30. He is stopped there by Jeff Wright, and that sets up a 3rd and 4.
Well, I don't know if there's someone in the Buffalo defense that's reading the signals coming in. Did you see the whole Bills defensive line overshift to the side of that toss? There's a play that had no chance whatsoever.
By the way, if you see Cornelius Bennett, and you do, number 97, and you're wondering what's different, it's the number. He used to wear 55, but he went back this year to wearing his old college number when Scott Radisek, who wore 97, left and was picked up by the Colts. 3rd and 4. Look out. O'Brien is able to escape the corner blitz and goes deep, and a flag is down. And it's caught by Terrence Mathis on a bounce in the end zone. There's no signal for the touchdown, but there are 2 flags for interference as Kirby Jackson on the corner blitz that time couldn't get to O'Brien. And James Williams was covering on the play with Mathis in the end zone.
And it was hardly much of a move that time by Ken O'Brien. All he did was just step up about 2 feet, and Kirby Jackson just sailed right over him. So extremely early in this ball game, we have seen missed tackles by Buffalo, and there is just blatant interference on James Williams.
Williams, the number 1 draft pick, and it was good concentration on the part of Mathis to stay in his route, because O'Brien spun out of a big pack. How he got away from being sacked is hard to tell.
They are calling it a touchdown for the moment, but take a look. That ball bounces. That hit the ground. They're going to review that. They have, for the moment, called it a touchdown,
but did he have
this
possession?
figures to be overturned. Cal Lepore is the replay official. It's going to hit the ground here in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Oh, gone.
This will be overturned.
But it is, the interference will stand, and it'll be a 1st down for the Jets at the 1-yard line, but that is not a touchdown.
The Bills will get a consolation prize here in a second. They'll take 6 points off the board, but it's going to be 1st and goal for the Jets.
The one thing that is indisputable is the interference call against James Williams. That, first of all, is not subject to replay, and that is blatant interference.
Here comes the overturn.
We have a reversal. It's an incomplete pass. We have defensive pass interference. Number 31 of the defense. It's 1st down on the 1-yard line.
And Jamie Williams, the rookie out of Fresno State. Replay box, so it'll be 1st down and goal to go at the 1. Watch O'Brien now. There is a safety blitz coming. He's not one of the most agile quarterbacks you're ever going to see. There is Jackson, and O'Brien got lost in there, and James Williams, who was covering Mathis, kind of gave up for a moment, and that was all it took for Mathis to get behind him.
1st and goal with McNeil taking the toss. Gets a nice block from Baxter, but can't get into the end zone. He is stopped by Carlton Bailey, number 54. The linebacker who staves off the touchdown for the moment. 2nd and goal.
Freeman McNeil, at 31 years old, last week came back running like he was 5 years ago. Part of it, of course, is attributable, according to Bruce Cobbs, the head coach, the fact he's been working out all year long, lifting weights, staying here in New York and working out every day. And this time, that was just a good collision there.
Sensational play by Bailey. That's just textbook on how to play it from the inside linebacker.
He really earned a starting job because of the holdout of Shane Tomlin this year.
2nd and goal, and bulling ahead is Baxter. Touchdown. Brad Baxter, who kept his job when they traded Roger Vick to Philadelphia, and he's moved in as their number 1 fullback.
It's a 75-yard drive. Now the Jets have had an 80-yard drive in their opening game. Now they've had a 90-yard drive. Got to make a coach happy. They like those long drives.
And that's something the Jets didn't do very much of last year. Very few sustained long drives. Leahy's extra point is good. The Jets, meanwhile, had not scored a touchdown against the Bills since their first meeting in 1988. They had gone 3 full games and parts of 2 others without getting into the end zone. But they do here and take the lead halfway through the 1st quarter.
Co-op board wouldn't let you guys in there.
The Empire State Building. 8 miles distant. Jets kicking off. Leahy puts it in the air, fielded at the 2-yard line by Don Smith. And the Plan B pickup from Tampa Bay brings it out to the 24-yard line. 7:36 remaining in the first quarter, and the New York Jets moving down the field, 75 yards, 8 plays, and a tick under 5 minutes.
Well, now we'll find out some interesting things about the Buffalo Bills. Questions always linger after you get whitewashed like they got pasted last week by Miami. We have to see. Now they're facing a little adversity, already down 7-0 here.
Little Bears look on the part of the Jets defense.
On first down, they go to the tight end, and that's Keith McKellar, who played mainly basketball in college and only 1 year of football, and it's enough for a first down out to the 35-yard line. An 11-yard gain, and the Bills go without a huddle. Kelly from the gun. Under pressure, gets it away, but in the grasp.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a catch. The play is over. It's whistle dead in the grasp and control of Dennis Byrd, who led the Jets in sacks last year with 7.
Yep, this is coming back. Oh, and there goes Byrd. Boy, it must be the green jersey. Mark Gastineau, wherever you are. Dennis Byrd. You heard Al say he had 7 sacks a year ago in an era where it's the outside linebackers that seem to be the really heavy-duty pass rushers. That's a good number for a defensive lineman, especially a defensive tackle.
It's 2nd and 17. And finding the open man, Lofton. He has the first down and goes out of bounds at the 47-yard line. James Lofton, of longtime Green Bay fame, 2 years with the Raiders, and now in his second season with the Bills.
Tony Sargent must have been reading his press guide, because he gave him about 15 yards. Lofton took it down.
Frank, look at James Lofton at the end of this. We can't show it to you because of the hurry-up. We got to see it.
We'll get to it. 1st and 10. It's caught by Thomas over the middle. He's at the Jet 47 for a gain of 5. And that's Thurman Thomas's first ever catch.
Now here's a replay that Dick Clark should do. It's got a great beat, easy to dance to, but the lyrics aren't much. James Lofton.
He had the presence of mind there to know, though, that he had the first down and don't give it up. As he started to go back behind the point where he had picked up the first down.
What was that, his 614th career reception?
I'd have to take off my shoes to make sure.
Starger playing hurt there at the defensive corner for the Jets.
12 men on defense, first down.
That's a good way to do it.
Well, that's the hurry-up offense.
Designed to do just that.
Yeah, but normally you'd think it'd be this guy, Bruce Coslett, that would be putting an offense on the field a la Sam Weiss and the Bengals at a hurry-up scheme. Now it's Buffalo that's doing it.
First down from the 47-yard line, and Mueller fights forward to the 42. Remember, it was 1st and 5. So he is close to another first down, but it will be 2nd and inches at the 42-yard line. And Mueller picks up the inches and about 7 yards more as he moves forward to the 35-yard line as the Bills exploit the soft center of the Jet defense.
And notice how they're doing this. They only have 3 wide receivers in the game. The man all the way to the bottom of this screen is Thurman Thomas playing wide receiver.
Now from the gun, it's tipped. There's a flag way downfield at the 12-yard line, away from the play. Off the fingertips of Reed, and we'll get the call from Tom Dooley.
We have a delay foul. 12 men on the defense. First down.
And the Bills had success with this against Miami. This is working very well against the Jets, and I agree with you, Dan. This is Bruce Coslett's a bit of his invention with the Cincinnati Bengals, and now his defense is getting caught.
5-yard penalty puts it at the 29. It is 1st and 5. Kelly, incomplete.
Oh, yeah.
There's another flag.
No question about
James
that one.
Lofton, interfered with by Tony Stargell.
Yeah, and he just grabbed Lofton and held him.
Lofton had great speed in his early days, and he hasn't lost all that much of it at the age of 34. And that time, he just flew by Tony
they're
Stark.
calling this
and now they're
offensive interference.
Well. Is Tony Stark with a rookie from Tennessee State.
Number 81 offense.
It's 81.
81
is what he's saying. There is no 81. He means 80.
They're saying that he pushed off from Sargent with his left hand. I don't know about that. He was in full stride.
Boy, that's a very tough call, and I think Marv Levy is expressing those sentiments right now to the head linesman. Well, again, another look.
Yep. I think poor is the better adjective than tough.
There will be contact in this game. That's why they have pads on.
1st and 15. Again, we have flags. Lofton makes the catch at the 31. And a lot of laundry at the outset tonight. Against the Bills again.
This flag was thrown by the umpire, so
we know what that means.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Number 67 offense. First down.
Center Kent Hall, a Pro Bowl center, detected on the foul.
Puts it back at the 49-yard line. So the Bills, after moving down the field, have been pushed back to the point where it's 1st and 25. Bills already penalized 49 yards in a little over 10 minutes. 1st and 25. Little dump off, and it's intercepted. There's another flag, however. Jeff Lageman intercepts and is out of bounds at the 32, but there's a flag back down at the Jet 42-yard line.
Well, that's a screen play, and you've got to cut the defensive end. And it didn't happen on that play. Left tackle Will Wolford tries to cut Lageman and doesn't get him to the ground.
Bills are convinced it's against the Jets. And it is.
Boy, it looks like defensive holding.
Lageman, a former linebacker, showed the good hands on that.
Well, he showed great athletic ability.
Holding number 51 on the defense. Foul prior to the pass. Previous pass. First down.
Well, a busy night so far for referee Tom Dooley. And poor Jeff Lageman loses an INT.
This game could be subtitled Zebras Run Wild at this point.
Joe Mott is flagged for the defensive hold, and the Jets have a touchdown on the board, but they have made their share of mistakes so far.
At the 44-yard line, it had been 1st and 25, so that's a huge penalty. Not only 10 yards, but a first down. And Kelly finds the wide-open McKellar inside the 10, and he is out of bounds inside the 1-yard line. A 43-yard pickup bumped out by Eric McMillan. Kelly wants the touchdown. At worst, it's going to be 1st and goal.
Well, that was more than a bump out by Eric McMillan. What a shot by Eric McMillan on Keith McKellar. But the story of this play, where is the Jet secondary? McKellar wide open.
It would either be the strong safety, Brian Washington, and let's say we're covering him with a linebacker, and one or the other fouled up the defense, and McKellar was wide open.
It's where the ball is, and the ball was in his left hand, and they say he didn't get in. 1st and goal, and this is Kenneth Davis, and he's in for the touchdown. Just barely, but across the goal line, and Buffalo pulls to within a point.
You know, guys, that's about as bad a series as a defensive team can have. 2 penalties for 12 men on the field, 1 defensive hold that negates an interception, and then a totally blown coverage on tight end Keith McKellar that allows you to get the ball down to the 6-inch line. A series to forget if you play on the New York Jet defensive team.
Watch Davis now. Stopped short of the line of scrimmage, and then with a little second effort, gets the ball across the plane of the goal line.
Did I leave anything out?
They covered it. They did it all, too.
Outside of that, it was terrific. Scott Norwood. The extra point is good, and so the Bills march down the field. Davis on his first carry of the night goes in for the touchdown, and we're tied at 7. McKellar setting it up with his 43-yard reception. 3:56 to go in the quarter. Bad series for the Jets defense as the Bills march down the field. Jets self-destructing defensively, and Buffalo able to tie the game. Pete Carroll going over things with Hasty and McMillan.
By the way the Jets butchered that no-huddle offense, I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
John Neese, the rookie, who was drafted to be the punter and also to kick off. He's one of 3 kickers the Bills are carrying at the moment. And the rookie from Arizona sends it down to the 7-yard line, where Mathis runs it all the way back to the 30 and takes a hard hit there from Butch Roll. Take a look at the numbers on the scoring drive as the Bills answer the Jets with a 76-yard march in 7 plays. And the Jets will take over at the 30-yard line, and a la Cincinnati, they huddle along the sideline and then come out after calling the first play on the sideline.
Yeah, they better hurry it up. And they go right to the line of scrimmage. They will not huddle, but you're right. They better giddy up. They're down to 5 seconds.
Play clock to 2 to 1, and they just do get it off. And it's Freeman McNeil stopped at the line of scrimmage, or Johnny Hector, excuse me, Hector.
That was a lot of running and a lot of tension. For what, about a yard?
Or less.
Or less.
It'll be second down and call it 9. A reminder, we'll be in Seattle a week from tonight. The Bengals are unbeaten, coming off their thrashing of the New England Patriots yesterday against the Seahawks, who went into overtime before falling to Denver. Second and 9, they line JoJo Townsell up in the backfield, send Hector in motion as they give the Bills a different look, and O'Brien throws into traffic, and it is incomplete at the 45-yard line. Mark Kelso was there, and so was Townsell.
JoJo is not liking the way this game starts. First his own man, and now Mark Kelso, and JoJo Townsell has every reason to be down on the ground. What a vicious shot.
Mark Kelso, the most unlikely Buffalo Bill out there to put that shot on Townsell. Mark Kelso looks like a choir boy. We were looking at him down in the field before the start of the game, but he just focused in on Townsell, zeroed in, and timed it right out with the ball.
Totally defenseless is JoJo Townsell, concentrating on the ball. Give him a great deal of credit. He knew he was going to get hit, and he never takes his eyes off the football. Boy, and Mark Kelso right up in his face.
So they still work on Townsell. Rob Moore, their rookie wide receiver out of Syracuse, dinged coming in as well. So the Jets a little thin as far as the wide receivers are concerned. There is Moore, who was the #1 pick in the supplemental draft. But
I think Townsell's ready to get up on his feet.
When we look at that in regular speed, we've slowed it down for you, and it happened so rapidly. You really just cannot believe the timing, first of all, on the part of Kelso, and that JoJo Townsell is even going to get up. He does appear to be all right now. The doctor has left the field.
All right, JoJo.
Dr. Nicholas has the team physician with the Jets, and he has gone to the sideline, so apparently JoJo's okay.
Well, I admire the way that he did not take his eye off the ball.
Dr. Nicholas, who has been around for many, many years with these Jets. Look at Joe Namath. He put a lot of zippers in Joe's legs.
third down and 9 for the Jets now as play resumes from the 31. 3:02 to go, first quarter. Game tied 7-7. O'Brien under pressure but escapes. And an off-balance throw for Kuhn is caught. No, he's out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Leonard Smith covering. Kuhn thinks he was in, but the official right there to say, no, sir.
What he's saying is that he didn't have possession of the football. The official was ruling that on his way out of bounds, Al Toon was juggling the ball.
I don't think Ken O'Brien realized he was going to get out of this, because if he had zipped this, Toon was so wide open, standing there all alone, he hung it up. And now, does he have possession of the ball?
Yeah.
Certainly appears that he does. But did he have both feet down? You're looking at two different things, the official is.
Oh, that looked like a catch to me, didn't it? I mean, he juggled the ball initially, but then he regained control of the ball, and it looks like his feet are in. Let's watch. One, two.
Yep. Well, the official was ruling that he was out of bounds, because he'll give you that up and down chopping motion if he said he didn't have possession, and he never gave that. So the initial call by the official was for being out of bounds when he caught it.
Well, that certainly looked like a catch. You can see the umpire communicating with the replay booth and Cal Lepore right now. But let's watch. There's the juggle, but he has the ball, and both feet are in bounds. I mean, you have to see evidence to clearly overrule the call on the field, because the call on the field was no catch. In my opinion, I think we saw that evidence. I would say that that's a catch.
Again, new rule this year, 2-minute limit for the replay official to render judgment. Here's another look now.
Certainly looks like he has possession. No question about the 2 feet being inbound. I mean, I don't know there.
I think that looked at Craig Janoff and Kenny
might have
Wolf.
bobbled it.
I think that's... you really think it looked like he bobbled the ball?
A little bit. He didn't have it into the chest.
Boy, it looked like a catch to me.
Me too. I
Remember,
agree
it has to be totally conclusive.
There's Leonard Smith, the extremely talented, strong safety of the Bills.
Now they want...
They want to know where they want to spot the ball now.
Well, I think they're going to ask the side judge if at what point he had possession.
Well, that's a bad sign.
Side judge is Dean Look, a former
hey, where's our 2-minute ticker?
Big Ten player himself.
This has been going on for a while.
He probably said, I forgot.
This has been... we have to be approaching the 2-minute limit.
After further review, the play will stand as called. 4th down.
Apparently, Cal Lepore did not see enough evidence to overturn it.
Well, everyone's entitled to an opinion. Looked like a catch to me, though, Al.
I would agree. Joe Prokop bounces at the 37 and takes a big jet bounce. 20-yard roll. Out of bounds at the 17-yard line. And again, one of those inartistic punts that looks terrific on the stat sheet. 32 yards in the air, and then a 20-yard bounce, and it's 52.
That, to me, is still the problem with the replay. We look at for 2.5 minutes, or 2 minutes, 2.5 after the play was over, and we get nothing out of it. It was inconclusive. Whether or not he bobbled it, they just couldn't determine.
1st and 10, Buffalo at the 17. 2:42 to go, opening quarter, 7-7. And a big hole for Thurman. Thomas, and Thomas to the 50. Thomas to the 40. Thomas getting blocking, and Thomas takes it down to the 22-yard line, where Michael Maley finally runs him down.
And Al Edwards, his receiver, added about 25 yards to that run. Good hustle by the rookie, Al Edwards, out in front of Thurman Thomas.
Well, I think Thomas is back again. A long-time holdout. Legs a little weak in the last couple of games. Only 23 yards against Miami. This is big-time running right here from a young running back out of Oklahoma State who gained over 1,200 yards a year ago, and he's looking to duplicate that year again.
60-yard pickup, longest of his career. They give him a breather, and Don Smith is the tailback in this set and takes it to the 20-yard line for a gain of 4.
We talked about the matchup between the defensive line of Buffalo against the offensive line of the Jets. Well, this is another good matchup when the Bills have the ball, because this is an undersized defensive line of the New York Jets. They only go 255, 270, 273, and 260 across the front. That's as small a defensive line as there is in the league, and can they hold their ground?
2nd and 7, little option toss back to Thomas inside the 10, and a first down as he gets to the 6-yard line. And the Bills really mixing it up offensively tonight, showing the Jets every look coming up in the shotgun and all kinds of different sets. A little toss back here to Thomas, and their 1st and goal at the 6.
Well, it's pretty tough on a young defense, and the defense is using all different terminology. And to try and change off a defense, they have to think. It takes just a beat to do it, and the Bills are doing what a veteran team should do, and that is giving a lot of looks, showing a lot of different things, and making a young defense react, and they're reacting slowly.
Minute to go in the quarter. 1st and goal. Here's Mueller, and he runs into a quartet of Jets led by Jeff Lageman. Last year's top draft choice, who was picked as a linebacker, and now they've turned him into a down lineman as they've gone to a 4-3. The Jets, over the last 2 seasons, the opponents have scored a touchdown on 16 consecutive 1st and goal situations, including one tonight.
That's not a very desirable statistic.
Report on Townsell, mild concussion, might return. 2nd and goal. Kelly under pressure, grasping control, and sacked at the 14 by Lageman.
Lageman, who played that outside linebacker in the Jets' 3-4 defense, has found a home, even though he's not all that big. Lining up the defensive end, he's so quick. At 255 pounds, and again in the Bills' backfield.
And the Bills will let the clock run down. The final seconds will expire, and when the 2nd quarter commences, it will be 3rd and goal from the 14.
Lageman just bullying his way right past Will Wolford. A good left tackle and getting to Kelly.
7-7 after 1. Back we come after this commercial message and a word from our ABCs. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf. We start the 2nd quarter in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Jets and Bills tied 7-7, and Buffalo with a 3rd and goal at the New York 14. And Kelly wants a timeout because the play clock was down to 1. Tom Dooley had signaled the ball ready for play, and the Bills took a long time in the huddle, and when Kelly came up to the line of scrimmage, he took a look at the play clock, and it was ticking down, and he has to call a timeout.
Well, and the other problem is that Jim Kelly was late leaving the sideline, headed out to the huddle. He spent too much time conversing with Marv Levy. Boy, and that's an error that a veteran quarterback and coach just shouldn't make. That's just not being aware of where you are in relationship to what the official's trying to tell you. He says, get out here, let's run a play.
Particularly down that deep. Teddy Marchibrodo and Marv Levy were talking the sidelines. All of a sudden they looked up and they were out of time.
Well, guys, we're taking a look at 2 teams in the AFC East tonight. This may be the toughest of the divisions to figure this season.
Of course, many people have picked the Bills, but again, they won the division the last 2 years, but they also have dropped 3 of their last 4 games in each of those 2 years, and they were only 9-7 a year ago.
And not to mention a rejuvenated Miami Dolphin team.
3rd down and goal from the 14-yard line. Kelly, a little dump-off pass to Smith, and Smith gets it to the 7-yard line. He is tackled there by James Hasty. So Kelly makes a little something out of nothing and puts it in slightly better position for Scott Norwood to kick the field goal that would give Buffalo the lead.
The Jets, of course, are arguing that they want the sack. Keep in mind, though, it's a two-part grasp. It's grasp and control. Does Jim Kelly's knee touch the ground? That is tremendous awareness by Jim Kelly in getting rid of that football.
24-yard field goal effort. Frank White puts it down for Norwood, and the kick is blocked.
It's kind of ugly, but it's sure close.
Might have been Marvin Washington, number 97, who got a hand on it.
Marvin's acting like he got a hand on it.
Marvin is 6'6", and he was right in the middle. Usually when you get a hand on it in the middle like that without the penetration, it's just miskicked, kicked low.
Hey, it's Ron Stallworth, number 96, that blocks that field goal. Guys, if you'll roll this thing, and right there, watch, there, you saw the hand. You can see Washington is way in the back, and he celebrates it, but the block goes to Ron Stallworth.
1st and 10, Jets from the 20-yard line, and there's a sack as O'Brien goes down in the arms of Leon Seals.
Well, 96 blocks the field goal, and now 96 gets a sack. Only this 96 is in a Buffalo jersey. It's Leon Seals.
That's a coverage sack, too, because there's plenty of time for O'Brien to go to the receiver. He wants to go there, but the coverage is complete, and he has to pull it down and look somewhere else. It's too late.
10-yard sack. It makes it 2nd and 20 from the 10. Seals and Wright filling the spots last year taken by Art Still and Fred Smerlis for Buffalo in a revamped 3-man front. This is Brad Baxter, who gets back 4 of those yards and leaves the Jets with a 3rd and long, a 3rd and 16. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Diet Coke with 100% NutraSweet. You'll drink it just for the taste of it. 3rd and 16, Jets at their own 14-yard line.
Jets with 4 wideouts. The big man, of course, they like to look for is Al Toon.
O'Brien keeping, and he's run out of bounds well shy of the 1st down out at the 23. It'll be 4th and 7. Darryl Talley will get credit for the tackle, and Cornelius Bennett was the man who was chasing him.
I think we're getting a bit of an answer to the question you posed a while ago, Dan. What kind of team is going to come back out if the Jets took that long drive in for a score? And definitely a tougher defensive effort, and it wasn't a bad drive offensively a short while ago, even though they missed the field goal.
I'm trying to figure out who Kenny O'Brien was trying to fake with that pump right there. The closest person downfield was a good 20 yards away.
Joe Prokop, the left-footed punter. At the 33-yard line, Chris Hale brings it back to the 38. He's tackled there by Trevor Maddich, and the Bills will take over. 1st and 10 at their own 38. Game tied at 7, 12:31 remaining in the first point. He was openly questioning Marv Levy's decision to remove Jim Kelly and a lot of the first unit offense with the score 30-7 Miami. He was subsequently fined $500, mainly because of the remarks he made after the game, and 3 other Bills were fined $100 for insubordination. But Buffalo hopeful of putting that behind them in their 1st and 10 here at the 39 as they begin this drive on a pass to Andre Reed, and the All-Pro wide receiver has a 1st down at the Jet 37-yard line.
Lots of time this time for Jim Kelly. No pressure at all as Reed came from across the field in a crossing pattern, a pass that takes a lot of time, but he was able to stand back there with all the ease in the world to pick him out. Talked about a zone defense, and he just waited until he cleared.
Well, Frank, we were talking at the top tonight about what happened last year. People forgot. Remember last year, Jim Kelly blamed Howard Ballard for the sack that separated Kelly's shoulder. Thurman Thomas got on Kelly's case. It was that kind of a season for the Bills, and that's something they obviously want to avoid now. Big hole through the middle, and exploiting it down to the 27-yard line is Thurman Thomas. Meanwhile, on the subject of Bills' dissension, here's what Jim Kelly had to say upon reflection.
Team unity is very important. We don't have any dissension on our team. I think everybody wants to win so bad that once they take the field, their focus is right on the target. Last week, our focus definitely wasn't on the target. We just got beat. This week, it's just a matter of us putting it together. We have everything it takes. We have all the tools. We get the defensive line, we get the offensive line, we get a running back, we get the receivers, we get the quarterback. We have everything, but we must put it together once we take the field.
The second part is much tougher than the first. It's easier to assemble that talent than it is to get that talent to play as a team, and that is what the Buffalo Bills have not done yet. If you fight and squabble and you win, then you become part of history like the Oakland A's. If you squabble, fight, and lose, then you're just another bunch of guys that didn't get it done.
That last run by Thomas was 9.5 yards, and so on 2nd and inches, it's Jamie Mueller, who carries infrequently, but is making the most of it tonight, taking it to the 8-yard line, tackled by Eric McMillan, but he figures to carry a lot more in the future since they got rid of Larry Kinnebrew.
And if anything is happening right now that's fairly obvious, it is that the Buffalo offensive line is seizing control of this game. Mueller and Thurman Thomas are moving through some gaping apertures in the line of scrimmage. That's a nice way of saying a whole bunch of guys in green jerseys are ending up on their butts.
Like your style.
Yeah.
1st and goal. A little toss back to Thomas, and Thomas falls down. Otherwise, he probably would have made it into the end zone. He was tripped up, couldn't maintain his balance, and down he goes at the 2. Joe Mott got just enough of his ankle to keep him from getting into the end zone. And Thomas is already over 100 yards tonight, 103.
What better quarterback to run that option down the line of scrimmage than Kelly? Good athlete, and a fine effort there by Mott to trip up a very athletic Thurman Thomas, and he was
I'm not so sure
Mott angry.
I'm not so sure Mott even touched him. Looked like Thurman Thomas might have just stumbled and fell.
2nd and goal, play fake, and wide open Butch Roll. And Roll now in the last 3 years has caught 6 passes, all of them for touchdowns. And they call him the ultimate role player. And there he is doing what they expect him to do in this particular situation.
And that's number 7.
Well,
Archer Brodo, who made the call. He's always kind of happy, the offensive coordinator of the Bills. Good call, too. Kelly stuck it in, hit it well, Roll with a little fake block, and then just eased into the flat.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that Roll wasn't wearing some sort of a stealth jersey, because no one in a green jersey even knew where he was.
We've seen 2 major mistakes on the part of the Jets coverage thus far.
Talk about
tight ends.
Talk about evading radar coverage and getting behind the enemy lines. That's what Butch Roll did on that play. Another blown coverage by the Jets.
And a 7-point lead for Buffalo. We're back, Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, as the Buffalo Bills have taken the lead for the first time in the game. And the kick by John Neese, fielded by Terrence Mathis. And the rookie pays the price as he brings it back out to the 21-yard line. Tackle made by Marcus Patton.
Let's go ahead and look at Roll's touchdown. Here's Butch Roll right here. McKellar's motion is going to take Hasty out, but take your pick. Somebody on this side goes too far upfield and doesn't bother to pick up Butch Roll. And just look how wide open he is in the back of the end zone.
Twice we've seen major lapses on the tight end.
But it's the first guy you look for in pass coverage down on the 2-yard line. I mean, the primary receiver is the tight end, especially play side.
Particularly when he's caught 6 passes in his career, and they've all been touchdowns.
Yeah, you'd think, if anything, this guy would be wearing a bell that says, cover me, cover me.
First down from the 20-yard line. Baxter swinging to the outside. And Baxter, with some nifty moves, takes it out to the 29-yard line. Conlon and Leonard Smith converge on the tackle. And here are the numbers on the last scoring drive for the Bills. 61 yards in 5 plays. And Roll taking it in for the 7th time in his career.
But, you know, you can work something out, fellas, that lets you cover Butch Roll. Of more immediate concern to the New York defensive team is how are they going to stay on the line of scrimmage, because they're getting blown off.
2nd and 1 from the 29. Hector picks up the first down to the 31-yard line. Jeff Wright and Shane Conlon make the tackle.
Hector just coming back to playing for him. He had his knee scoped back in August. Scored a touchdown last week for the Jets in their victory over Cleveland.
First and 10 at the 31. 8:45 remaining in the half. Buffalo up by 7. Hector again. And a half dozen Bills stop him as he approaches the 35-yard line, led by Bentley and Smith.
Well, you get the feeling that's what Marv Levy likes to see, too. He just wasn't getting that aggressive hitting last week against Miami. We asked him about it. He said we're not getting the tough play. With the exception of Leonard Smith defensively in the secondary. And you've got to like that swarming type defense on the part of the Bills.
And he loves his offense tonight. They've outgained the Jets by almost a 4-to-1 ratio.
Did that say 244 yards for Buffalo?
It did.
With 8 minutes left in the second quarter?
It did.
Oh, big number.
2nd and 6 as O'Brien goes to the outside and hits Rob Moore, the rookie out of Syracuse. Herbie Jackson makes the tackle, and he is very close to a first down. By selecting Moore in the supplemental draft, the Jets have given up their #1 draft choice in 1991.
Rob Moore, a long-time holdout for the Jets. A little bit battered into the night play with a very sore shoulder.
3rd and 1. And Hector swings to the outside and can't get untracked. He was first stopped by Ray Bentley, and then Conlon finished him off.
And there were 4 other Bills there right after that. Good swarming defense. This is what they've been lacking.
Well, Johnny Hector on a short yardage play never even got his body turned upfield. It was Bo Schembechler who loved the expression, always keep the long axes of your body perpendicular to the goal line. Johnny Hector that time was parallel to the goal line, never turned upfield. That's an odd play.
Bo really used to say that?
Bo used to really say that. Keeping the long axes of your body perpendicular to the goal line. Think about it.
I'll buy it. Prokop's kick. Chris Hale falls for the fair catch and makes it.
That goes with
at the 21.
That goes with that stealth bomber.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
The long axis.
What does Bo know? He's a baseball guy now, right?
Both Bo's are in baseball.
Right. And football.
You got one of those stealth. You keep funding it.
Bobo. Buffalo at its own 21-yard line. Bills on top 14-7. Shredding the Jets on the ground tonight are the Bills. Last week against Miami, Buffalo gained only 44 yards in the entire game on 15 carries.
Well, you see an adjustment there by the Jets. They put 5 guys down on the line of scrimmage.
And look at that hole again. It's been that way all night for Thurman Thomas. He's out to the 45-yard line. He's tackled by James Hasty. That's a 24-yard gain.
Well, so much for that concept. Back to the drawing board again. They're going to be a little stouter on the line of scrimmage, so they put 5 people up there. But again, Davis and Ballard, Hull, Richer, and Wolford just chew them up. And again, Eric McMillan is reduced to trying to get Thurman Thomas. He comes up short, and boy, that's fun as a running back, Frank, has to be.
Thomas has 127 yards on the ground. Kelly dumps it off from Mueller, and Mueller takes it to the 50-yard line for a gain of 5. Marvin Washington makes the tackle along with Kyle Clifton, and the clock is down to 5:45 remaining in the half. Coming up Saturday on ABC, regional coverage, college football. The USC Trojans try to rebound. They were destroyed by Washington, and they'll go in to face the Buckeyes at Ohio State. Some of you will see Ty Detmer, another fabulous day, over 500 yards in the air, as BYU meets Oregon. 3:30 Eastern this Saturday. Second, let's call it 4. Here's Thomas to the 48. It'll be 3rd and 3. Marv Levy took over in 1986, guided the Bills to divisional titles in 88 and 89. Kind of lost in the shuffle in a way is the fact that only the Bills and the 49ers won back-to-back division titles in 88 and 89.
I think you touched on it now, too. And the Bills last year only lost to Cleveland by a drop pass in the final seconds, or they would have been playing Denver in the AFC Championship.
3rd and 3. Thomas makes the grab, and Thomas
incomplete, they're saying.
Doesn't have possession. He would have had the first down, and Eric McMillan was covering.
And there's no option involved here. Jim Kelly is going to Thurman Thomas all the way. Eric McMillan, who's been very active tonight, he's been around the ball. That was his play. He came up quickly and forced that incompletion. Boy, the Jets needed that. They needed that desperately.
Rick Tootin to kick. Terrence Mathis is back to receive for the Jets. Mathis is going to call for a fair catch at the 15-yard line. Jets have it there after a 33-yard punt.
Eric McMillan, of course, the son of a good friend of yours, Dan, Ernie McMillan. You guys cross careers.
Yeah, former teammate of mine, a great offensive tackle and a Pro Bowler in his own right, and now his son, a Pro Bowler for the Jets. Somebody had to step up and make a big play for the New York Jets, and it was Eric McMillan. All the way it goes to Thurman Thomas, and you saw that it was the arms of Eric McMillan that actually pulled the arms of Thurman Thomas down and forced him to spit up the ball. It was close to being a catch and then a fumble, but the ruling on the field was that he never did have the possession.
First down, New York at the 15. They trail by 7. Hector goes nowhere. Bentley makes the tackle. Bruce Coslett guiding the Jets. Man who was a Bengal player, Bengal assistant coach, lived in Cincinnati for 19 years, interviewed by Phoenix, came close to getting that job, and wound up here with New York. 2nd and 9. Toon run out of bounds at the 26 and has a first down.
Good, a good runner after he catches the football. One of the best in the game. He knew exactly where he had to go to get that first down. Bruce Smith, you haven't heard that much from tonight. You see why. A couple of people working on Bruce Smith, and he's been attracting 2 or more.
How about 3?
Throughout the entire game.
How about 3? There's
well,
Criswell, Haight, and Sweeney all taking a shot at him.
They ought to. He's had 14.5 sacks in the last 10 games against the Jets.
They tell that to Bruce.
Fumble by Hector, and does Odoms get it before it goes out of bounds?
Yes.
He does. Nate Odoms recovers at the 30.
And you know who caused that play? Bruce Smith took 2 defensive linemen and put them both about 2 yards into the Jet backfield.
Oh, did he lunch on them?
Oh, Criswell and Haight are going to try to double team Bruce Smith, and he blows these 2 all the way back in there and actually knocks, I think, Criswell into the ball carrier.
Hector gets all tangled up with the mess and the carnage that Bruce Smith leaves.
Look at Smith. Look at him push Criswell all the way back into Hector.
There's a leg tripping up Hector.
And a nice play by Odoms to keep it from going out of bounds.
Oh, very nice work. Very nice work. First by Smith, then by Odom.
First down, Buffalo at the 30. And Kelly going deep for Lofton, who's open, but it's incomplete. The pass floated, and it enabled Stargell to get back there and break it up.
Kelly has got a strong arm, and he just saw Lofton just a little late. Tried to whip it without getting into any kind of a mode with the leg at all.
Interference.
Strictly a flip, but that's very close to interference also.
Yeah, I was going to say, sure looks like, look at that. I mean, that could have easily been called interference. Well, this Jets secondary better start covering some people.
2nd and 10. 4-man rush. They go underneath to the tight end, McKellar. Incomplete at the 19-yard line. Never had possession. And he got popped by Joe Mott to break the play up. Todd Clifton comes up with a football, but it's simply an incompletion. 3rd and 10 at the 30.
Again, Kelly with the selection. Looks it over all the time in the world. You can't give a Jim Kelly, or any good quarterback for that matter, that kind of time. He'll find somebody.
Got to get both feet down. McKellar didn't get that second foot down before he took the hit from Mott that forced the ball out.
They're going to take a look at it, because if he did, if it's ruled a complete pass upstairs, a completed pass, it would be a fumble and a recovery for the Jets. Does he have possession?
We almost have to go back to where he actually caught the ball and check his feet from that point. Let's see if he didn't maybe have both feet on the ground when he actually catches the ball.
Does he get it tucked away? You're looking at it in slow motion.
I don't think so.
Again, it has to be conclusive.
After further review, the play will stand as called. It's third down.
Well, you see Bruce Closet's his interpretation of that non-call.
That makes it 3rd and 10. 3:16 to go. First half. 14-7 Buffalo. Kelly looking for Thomas, and he can't one-handed. John Booty back to cover on the play. And so it'll be 4th down, and the Bills are looking at about a 48-yard field goal attempt.
When Kelly threw that ball, I thought he was throwing it to Booty.
He was open.
I mean, that's a case where Thurman Thomas had to try to get back into the play.
Boy, Booty set up a little short on this, and this could have very easily have been a touchdown.
Scott Norwood from 48. His career long is 49. Frank Reich to hold. His last effort was blocked.
Norwood going for number 100.
This time he has the distance and the accuracy from 48.
Boy, that's if that was a putt, we wouldn't say that was right in the heart of the cup, would we?
Nope. Around and around and around and in.
I thought that was going to hit the upright. That's one of those, if the laces would have been sideways, they might have grazed the upright.
Natural tendency is to hook it left with the right-footed kicker. This one straight away, and of course Norwood playing that hook and didn't get it.
And both of those field goals that he missed, well, that is really tight. But that's number 100. Boy, it was good again. Can you imagine that?
Scott Norwood puts Buffalo up by 10 as they cash in on the fumble recovery. Meanwhile, in our ongoing battle for supremacy, highest field goal percentage in the history of the NFL, Morton Anderson still leads by a tick over Nick Lowry, Gary Anderson of Pittsburgh, Murray of Detroit, Butler of Chicago, and here's Norwood in the battle as well.
You know, no one does highest field goal percentage as well as we do.
No, I guarantee you not.
How about Butler? What, a 52-yarder to win it for the Bears?
Yep. Mathis brings it back to the 24-yard line. Steve Tasker is down there to make the tackle.
We have every kicker in the league sitting in the edge of their chair every Monday night.
No, that's all 26 of them that aren't working in this game.
2:57 remaining, first half.
Got an injured Bill.
Jets had taken a 7-0 lead, but 17 unanswered points for Buffalo, and can't determine yet who it is. I think it's Mark Pike, who's number 94. It is. Mark Pike, the fourth-year defensive lineman, special teams performer out of Georgia Tech, shaken up. And they attend to Pike with 2:57 left on the clock and 2 timeouts remaining. Toyota halftime report tonight.
A lot of teams are winning by defense this year, which is not surprising. Usually it happens in the early going of the season, the defense being ahead of the offense, but there have been some unbelievable hits applied on some quarterbacks. We'll take a look at some of those and check out the undefeated teams, and we'll talk to Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, who is just a little short of being in office for a year now.
Pike is fine as he gets up and walks off under his own power.
I think he just got the wind knocked out of him. It's like he took a knee from one of his own players, and he's up. He'll be back, I'm sure.
Jets start at the 23-yard line. They split Hector to the right. Keep Baxter in the block, and Toon drops it right in his hands, but there's a flag down behind the line of scrimmage.
And now Toon looks like he's limping, too.
He is, and he's coming out of the game.
Al Toon came up a little lame at the end of that incompletion.
Call will be against the Jets for a hold.
61 offense, hands in the face, First down.
Here's Toon. If you're wondering about catches per game, he has the most per game in the history of the league for those with a minimum of 200 receptions.
What a
pretty
year.
good company up there.
The year he had last year, as they look at Al Toon on the sidelines, he only played in 6 full games, missed parts of all the rest of them with some kind of an injury, and yet he still had an incredible year with 63 receptions.
Well, the Jets can't afford many more plays like that. A holding penalty, an incompletion, and the loss of Al Toon.
Nope, 1st and 20. And a near sack for O'Brien, who's still being chased. And then his pass is incomplete through the hands of Johnny Hector. And O'Brien gets knocked to the turf by Leon Seals. It'll be 2nd and 20. Leon Seals, 4th year out of Jackson State, talking about that revamped Buffalo defensive line. They got good performances from Art Still and Fred Smerlis in years past, but the Bills figuring it was time for Still to retire. They left Smerlis unprotected. He went to San Francisco, and Seals and Wright are the new guys up front along with Bruce Smith.
Here's where the Jets have to rely on something short and then let the runner do the rest. 2nd and long, because the Bills are getting all over Kenny O'Brien.
2nd and 20. Another flag. Bentley tackles O'Brien at the 15-yard line. Tom Dooley, our referee, and it's against New York again.
Well, I'll be surprised if Bruce Smith isn't involved in this one again.
Tripping, number 61 offense. Penalty is declined.
That's Criswell working against Bruce Smith. Jeff Criswell, the left tackle, he has drawn a tough assignment here this evening, working against one of the most talented defensive linemen in the league. Watch the right side of your screen. Bruce Smith goes to the inside. Criswell goes down. Oh, you could see him with the right leg. Hey, Conrad Dobler would have loved that. Use all you can.
3rd down and 18. And on 3rd and 18, that's about the last thing you want to do, throw a completed pass to a guy who's covered by 3 defenders. Rob Moore at the 21, 4th and long. And let's say one thing for the Jets tonight, which we should mention before this half is over. We've barely seen Freeman McNeil after the opening quarter, and we have not seen Blair Thomas, their #1 draft choice, who was dinged, but Bruce Coslett said he would see a lot of action tonight, but hasn't.
Blair Thomas was sore over his entire body after last week's game, which he was outstanding against Cleveland. But sore ribs, a sore hamstring, and there he is on the sidelines, the All-American from Penn State.
2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go in the half, and the Jets will punt. And then we'll see the 2-minute drill for the Bills, who lead by 10. Joe Prokop's to kick. Stands back at his own 8. Chris Hale to receive for Buffalo at his own 30. Rush was on, but he gets it away. And out of bounds it goes at the 32-yard line. From there, will Buffalo commence its next drive with 1:49 on the clock and a pair of timeouts for the Bills.
Oh, what a perfect night for football.
Yep, beautiful evening in Gotham and environs.
The wind that usually swirls in Giant Stadium.
Better say we're in New Jersey or the letters will roll in.
That's why I said environs.
That's right.
I was going to ask you a while ago, you ever hear from Conrad Dobler when you discuss his play?
Do I ever hear from him? Yeah, he writes me a letter in crayon every now and
then. 32. Another first down for Thurman Thomas, who continues to have a sensational night. He's out to the 47. It's already the 2nd best game of his career on the ground, and we are not even at halftime. It's 145 yards for Thomas. Kelly to Don Smith. He's short of the first down by 2 at the Jet 45.
Thurman Thomas would like to become the 2nd, only to Roger Craig, to go over 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving.
He may do it tonight. On 2nd and 2, here's Thomas, who breaks the tackle behind the line of scrimmage and turns a 2-yard loss into about a yard gain. It's going to be 3rd and 1 at the 44. Big play coming up here. And they're going to conserve their timeouts, but now with a 3rd and 1, knowing they have to pick up the first down, they figure it's time to spend one. They have one left.
And keep in mind, they wasted one by staying on the sideline too long in the first quarter. Jim Kelly was late getting out onto the field, had to use the timeout when the game clock had run down too far. So that may end up hurting the Buffalo Bills as they try to add some points here at the end of the first half.
And they're huddling with Teddy Marchibroda, the offensive coordinator, which allows me to say that he used to coach for underneath George Allen with the Los Angeles Rams, later the Washington Redskins, and George Allen has won his first game at Long Beach State this past weekend, beating Pacific 28-7. Congratulations, Coach.
You bet. Ted Marchibroda, the offensive coordinator of the Bills, former coach of the Colts. Speaking of coaches, Craig T. Nelson stars when the nation's top quarterback prospect comes to Minnesota State in the season premiere of Coach tomorrow night after Roseanne, right here on ABC.
I'm ready.
3rd and 1 from the 44, and Thomas on a second effort may have picked up that one. Going to be a big measurement here at the 43-yard line, and Tom Dooley's going to stop the clock to bring in the change with 43 seconds.
Well, I'm not sure that
Thomas has got a bad mark there.
I'm not sure Buffalo's too pleased with the spot. Thurman's going, you did me wrong.
You know, a good running back, you watch them sometimes, they know exactly where they are. Thomas didn't even look over to the marker. I'm sure he felt that he had it. He knew how far he had to go. He didn't even take a peek over there.
From here, it looks like they're about 3 millimeters short.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Very good. 3.5. Ooh, I think the Big Ugly is going to line up and go for this one.
Yeah, to tell you. Steve is one of the trenches as always. 4th down and 3 millimeters. At the 43-yard line. Meanwhile, as soon as the chain gang leaves the field, the clock will start again. And there it goes, beginning to tick away. Buffalo, at least for the moment, lines up as if they're going to go for it. They may just be trying to get the Jets to be offside. But no, it's going to be Kelly on a sneak.
He's got it easily.
And he picks up the first down of the 41, and here's a very late flag.
Oh, now what is this?
Clock down to 26. This is one of the few times the umpire throws a flag, and it's probably not holding.
Well, this flag came in way after the play was over.
Personal foul against the Jets.
Oh, and there's a mistake Bruce Coslet's team did need to make.
Huge one that puts Buffalo in field goal range.
Oh, it may have been Eric. Somebody took a kick at somebody in there.
Yeah, with the quarterback handling the football, they look after him a little better than they might a running back.
I think Eric McMillan took a kick at Howard Ballard. I think McMillan got called for that personal foul, and what a costly penalty.
Puts Buffalo at the 27. Remember, they're down to one timeout, 26 seconds. A little dump off to Thomas, and he's tackled at the 28. That's a loss of 1. James Hasty makes the stop. And Buffalo will spend its last timeout. And there may have been a face mask call that was missed here. You bet.
Well, you could see James Hasty there, number 40, realized that he had his hand on the face mask and very gracefully tried to get it away with an open palm, and he did get away with it. He was smart enough that he had it on there, and he got it off before he jerked the head, because a lot of times it's that jerking of the head. That's what signals an official that someone's got a hold of a face mask.
Meanwhile, the Bills, with 17 seconds, do not have a timeout, so what they have to do is make sure they get out of bounds on a completed pass. You can't afford to run the ball at this point and stay in bounds.
Or get into the end zone.
Yep.
And Kelly's been getting all the time he needs to do just about whatever he wants to do.
2nd and 10. They send Reed out to the left. And Al Edwards as well, and Lofton goes to the right. They give it to Thomas. Boy, this is a risky play to the 23-yard line. And the clock continues to run.
Now we get a stoppage of the clock because the officials will not let the clock run out as long as the Jet players are on top.
Well, the Bills are saying, forget the field goal. We're going to now. Kelly's going to throw it. They just do stop there. I tell you, oh, boy.
And they needed a little help. Now, there's no doubt the officials are going to stop the clock if the Jet players remain on top of a player in what they, if they deem it to be longer than usual. But they need some help. That was not, I don't think, what will go down as a real intelligent call by the Bills. They're lucky to get away with that.
Very. 42-yard field goal attempt now for Norwood. Right to hold. Now what will be the final play of the half? And this one is good, so they do cash in for 3. Get a break with the clock. They dominate the first half after the Jets had taken an early 7-0 advantage. 20 unanswered points for Buffalo. Bills by 13 at the half. Stick around for halftime. We'll talk to Paul Tagliabue. Halftime activities after for a touchdown in the first quarter. Jets receive the second half kickoff. Terrence Mathis runs into a group out at the 24-yard line. And let's take a look at the numbers through the first 30 minutes of play, and a huge edge for Buffalo.
An even bigger edge than is reflected on the scoreboard. Relatively clean game turnover-wise, only the one by the Jets, but a 300-yard half in the NFL is just big, big numbers.
Dan, you wondered how the Bills would react after the Jets made their 75-yard drive for a touchdown in the early going. Now I'm sure that Bruce Coslet is wondering how his Jets team is going to react. And they were thoroughly slumped during the later part of the first quarter and the second quarter.
Pete Carroll, his defensive coordinator, has got to somehow come up with a way to stiffen his line. They were getting blown away by the Buffalo offensive line.
We wondered where Blair Thomas was. He's in the game. The #1 draft choice. The catch is made here by Chris Burkett. The former Bill takes it out to the 32-yard line. He used to play with Buffalo and was picked up by the Jets last year. Burkett in his 6th year in the league out of Jackson State picks up 8, and it will be 2nd and 2 out at the 33.
Was not a happy departure from Buffalo on the part of Chris Burkett when he joined the Jets last September. Had 21 receptions on the year, and that's his 2nd of the year thus far.
Here's Thomas. And a look at the rookie out of Penn State as he picks up a first down, taking it to the 40-yard line. Talley and Smith converge on the tackle after a 7-yard pickup.
Both the key rookies for the Jets involved in that play. Rob Moore, the rookie wide receiver from Syracuse, coming around as if he was going to take the reverse. Thomas made the fake and kept it.
Let's watch Bruce Smith. He's going to knife to the inside here from his defensive position. He evades the block of the left tackle. Then Baxter comes in, and Bruce Coslet said, I've got to run away from this guy. But by going that far outside, they really didn't get much.
O'Brien finds the open man. There's a flag. Rob Moore with the catch, taking it to the 30-yard line. Leonard Smith makes the tackle.
Mark Boyer, the tight end of the Jets, was pointing at the linebacker that's covering him, Shane Conlon, I believe, saying he was held.
Against the Bills.
I think it might have been Carlton Bailey, number 54. Let's see if it wasn't against Bailey. One of those two guys on the inside. I think it might have been Bailey.
Yeah, reading his lips, he said no new taxes, number 54.
And we're in New Jersey.
Carlton Bailey really put the grab on Mark Boyer.
And wide open.
Really didn't figure in the play at all, though.
Moore in motion from the 31-yard line. Here's Blair Thomas. Nice little spin move inside the 20 down to the 15.
Well, that's pretty.
#1 draft choices just look like #1 draft choices. You can see abilities that other people don't have. Chris Burkett and Nate Odoms are involved in a little shoving match. Nice little spin move, Frank.
Oh, was it ever. Now cover up the football. That's one of the first things that will happen to a rookie. They'll try him out. The linebackers and safety man, the second man in it, on the tackle, going for that football. That time, Thomas covers it up nicely.
Very impressive drive for the Jets to begin the third quarter. They trail by 13. O'Brien with a low throw this time, intended for Blair Thomas. It will be 2nd and 10.
That time, Blair just a little casual in that move.
Well, but again, Frank, I don't know. That's a difficult catch.
Difficult catch, but he could have been looking just a little earlier.
Watch how low and behind him this pass is from Kenny O'Brien. Also, it didn't have a lot on it. Those are the most difficult to catch, I think. Those ones that are coming in there on a descending arc.
2nd and 10 on a sweep. Here's Thomas. Can't turn the corner. And busting up the play was Leon Seals.
Good job there by Cornelius Bennett of stringing it out. He had contained, and he kept fighting to get to the outside. Took on 3 different people. Forced it back to the inside where his teammates were coming in their lanes of pursuit.
Linebacking a long suit with this Buffalo Bills defense, along with Bruce Smith. But you think of Cornelius Bennett, Shane Conlon, Pro Bowler, Darryl Talley, maybe the best of them. On the outside of the right.
3rd and 10 from the 15-yard line. Busted play, and the ball knocked away. A fumble, a loose
Still
ball.
going, still going.
Still alive, picked up by the Jets.
Jim Sweeney to
Saved
center.
by Sweeney back at the 38-yard line. Bruce Smith was the man who created the fumble.
Oh, how sweet it is, Brucey boy. I tell you what, he just makes, you talk about great players make great plays. Bruce Smith just whaps it out of there. I think he reaches in with his left hand. I mean, the first thing he does, he just goes by Criswell, then Baxter, and look at that. I mean, there just aren't many people playing the game capable of making plays like that. And that's just not physical ability, Frank. That is great mental awareness.
Baxter, a poor move on the part of Baxter, too. He was in no position to even attempt to put the block on Smith.
And what they did is they took the Jets out of field goal range. Prokop's punt will pin Buffalo deep, but that was a 23-yard loss on that fumble, and that took the Jets out of a position to cash in for even 3.
And Frank, I think your point was well made. Baxter's job was to stay in there and help Criswell. He failed to do it, and he allowed Bruce Smith to make the big play.
Smith just turning in a big play, knocking the Jets out of field goal range, and the Bills take over here at their own 5-yard line. 10:39 left in the third. Thurman Thomas having a huge night. A flag goes down back at the 2. Thomas out of bounds at the 8. Report on Al Toon, who went limping off in the first half. Bruised back, might return. Might.
Bruce Smith, boy, he has really, after fighting off 2 and 3 players at a time, he has really taken charge of the line of scrimmage defensively for Buffalo. And now the ball back in the hands of the Buffalo offense. There's Big Bruce. A real fight fan. Alex Wallow and I see him all the time on the fight circuit. He went to high school with Pernell Whitaker down there in the Norfolk area. Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea and Big B.
Call was against the Bills for holding. Half the distance to the goal line, puts it at the 2.5 and makes it 1st and 12. Thomas trips up at the 5-yard line. Clifton and Mott in on the tackle. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Boy, how important it would be for the Jets if they could force the Buffalo Bills into a punting situation from down here. If they could keep Buffalo from getting a couple of first downs and grinding this out towards midfield, a big lift to his team if they could pull a 3 down and out.
And a big lift for our team.
Yeah, well, we're not in the business of rooting up there.
2nd and 10, and here's Thomas out to the 10-yard line. Thomas has now gained 153 yards in the first 35 minutes and 20 seconds of the game, and that's a new career high. His best previous, 148 against Miami last year. The best this year would be Sammy Smith on opening day for Miami, who ran for 159 yards. 3rd and 4 from the 11. Thomas out past the 20, the 30, and finally knocked down at midfield. John Booty is the man who stops him.
We better start thumbing through O.J. Simpson's records. What a night.
Just thinking the same thing as I am sure the Juice is as he sits in his hotel across the river in New York tonight.
This is the old Redskin counter gap. That's all it is. From behind, look at the right side. There goes Davis and Ballard up through the hole, and what a hole it is. I mean, again, it is this Jet defensive line that when it really counts can't stand in there and play physical football with this huge Buffalo offensive line. They are dominating.
193 yards for Thomas. They fake it to Davis, and then Kelly throws, and he hits Reed, and Reed in turn gets banged down by Brian Washington as he picks up a first down.
Well, we were admiring the Jets' JoJo Tonsell a while ago for hanging on to a football, concentrating when he knew he was going to get level. Now, watch Andre Reed. He does exactly the same thing. Coming across, never takes his eyes out of the football. He knows he's going to get popped. He knows it's Washington, and he takes the shot and holds on.
I can't think of one thing that I don't love about Andre Reed. What a tremendous receiver. And you have to wonder if this isn't one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the game of football.
1st and 10 from the 35. Thomas is out of the game, and it's Davis giving him a breather. And it doesn't matter as far as the Jets defense is concerned, whether it's 34 or 23 covering, as Hasty makes the tackle.
It's exactly the same play. It's exactly the same play that Thurman Thomas just ran. Again, watch Davis and Ballard pull up through the hole. Here comes the house. Clifton way out of position. I mean, we've got Jets running and falling over the top of one another, and right now this is becoming a bit of an embarrassment for the Jets and their defense.
Big mystery tonight might be whether or not Thomas can surpass O.J.'s record. We look it up. 273 yards is the Bills' single-game rushing mark set by Simpson at Detroit in 1976.
Here's the same play the other way.
Thomas already has 193 yards and picks up about 4 more as he is out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Kyle Clifton makes the tackle. Make it 6 more. And he's closing in on 200. It's 198 for him.
It's good hustle. The linebacker hustles to the outside. But again, watch this move by Thomas here. Splitting 2 Jet defenders. He almost popped that loose for the touchdown. A risky one, risking the body, but he picks up an extra 3 or 4 out of it. He's a great runner.
2nd and 5 at the 13-yard line. Thomas to the 9-yard line. Remember, Thomas picked by the Bills in the 2nd round. There was some little question about him when he began his college career at Oklahoma State, but the question in the draft was, how healthy was he?
That's true, and I don't think they ever realized what a prize they'd get in terms of receptions. 60 receptions a year ago. Last year, if you recall, in the championship game of the playoff game against Cleveland, Thurman Thomas tied the record by Kellen Winslow for receptions in a playoff game at 13. And what a game he played along with Jim Kelly, only to lose in the final seconds.
3rd and a long yard, and Mueller can't get it. He is stopped just inside the 10. It's going to be 4th and 1. 5.5 minutes to go. Bills lead by 13. Interesting call here for Levy. You go up by more than 2 touchdowns with a chip shot field goal, or do you try to just wrap it up?
No, I think you have to do what they're doing, which is kick it. Puts you up 23-7, as Al says. It puts you up by 3 scores. It takes 2 touchdowns and a field goal to catch you. With the amount of time left in the game, that's a wise move for Buffalo.
28-yard field goal. Reich will hold. And Norwood boots it through. So on a drive kept alive by a key third down run deep in their own territory by Thomas is culminated with a Norwood field goal and a 16-point Buffalo lead. Sitting in wait, or standing in wait, on the Jets sideline is Tony Eason, the other quarterback. Remember, Eason and O'Brien fought it out in preseason for the #1 job. O'Brien won it. And it's been O'Brien all the way as the kick comes down to the 16-yard line off the foot of John Neese, and Terrence Mathis brings it back out to the 31-yard line. And the Jets will set up shop at the 31 with 4:42 to go in the third.
There is Jim Richard, the left guard of the Buffalo Bills, with a device that holds his helmet on the back of his shoulder pads. Jim must be a forgetful lad, never knowing when he might leave his helmet someplace. How about those Mets Jets?
They crossed out the Mets. They were defeated today by the Cubs.
Well, the Buffalo's trying to cross out the Jets. There's Al Toon. As you can see, he's in street clothes. He's got a bruised back, and they're wrapping him right now. So, needless to say, a big weapon for the Jets removed from their arsenal.
And remember, Joshua Townsell was shaken up earlier at the 31-yard line. This is Baxter out to the 36-yard line. And, well, the Jets are in a honeymoon stage right now with their fans, but this marriage is moving along when you run plays like that down by 16.
Well, and here we are. We've got almost 20 minutes of football left in this game, and Townsell and Al Toon pretty much removed here from a team that's forced to play catch-up football, down 23-7. So it's somewhat of a grim picture for the guys in green right now.
And Rob Moore, your top rookie out of Syracuse, he's playing hurt tonight, a wide receiver. There he is.
2nd and 5. O'Brien, and it's caught out of bounds by Burkett. Couldn't stay in. He was covered by Kirby Jackson. 3rd down. We talked to Bruce Kozlett today, and we asked him, what do you do in a situation if O'Brien's not having a good night? How quick a hook do you have? He said, look, I've seen guys be real cold and then get hot in a hurry, and I don't want to do anything to destroy his confidence.
Interesting comment, too, on his decision. There was a lot of talk here in the Eastern area, particularly the New York area, about who was going to start for the Jets. This man, Ken O'Brien, or Tony Eason. Tony Eason had a good free, so did O'Brien, and Bruce Kozlett said, I just had a hunch, and just before the start of the first regular season game, he went with O'Brien.
We saw that replay of Chris Burkett as he went out of bounds.
Well, he was close.
He has possession of the ball, at least it looked like from the replay that Craig and Kenny serve up here. Let's look at the feet. I mean, there's a catch. Boy, that's tight on that right leg as to whether the right foot hit inbounds before the right knee hit out of bounds. That is really, really close. Again, keep in mind it was ruled on the field as no catch. We've got to see something that conclusively overturns that. Let's concentrate right here on the right foot and see, is it going to be down back in the field here when he makes the catch? Oh, it might be, and the left comes down. If they go back and rule that the right foot was down when he makes the catch, it's obvious he gets the left foot down before he gets out of bounds. That may be the point of concentration in looking at this replay. Again, let's look at the right foot, and when does he have possession? Now, the right foot is still down,
Yeah, does he have possession though before that foot comes up?
Stand is called. Incomplete pass, 3rd down.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's not indisputable.
No, I agree. And
I agree with Kozlett, too. It really slows things down. How many have we looked at tonight?
Well, yeah, but if you're going to have the system enforced, I mean, what are you going to do? Just arbitrarily not look?
Meanwhile, on what would have been 3rd and 6, this play is blown dead before its inception.
False start, 66 offense, 3rd down.
It's probably the most controversial thing that's come into football in years, and of course it just barely passed this year and only passed the owners' meeting when they were assured that they would not look at it for more than 2 minutes. That was the reason we have it this year.
You can see Dave Cadigan, the right guard, come up out of his stance well in advance of the snap of the ball. And right now, Bruce Coslin must feel like he's driving a car down the freeway and the lug nuts are beginning to come off his tires.
3rd and 10, and O'Brien throws a ground ball over the middle.
Might have just lost a wheel.
Bennett that time made O'Brien pay the price, and the Jets will be forced to kick again. Well, we said at the outset, a very important game for Buffalo, because an impressive performance tonight makes last week seem like an aberration, whereas a loss tonight, everybody would have been wondering. An extremely talented team. Bills go home next week. They'll face Denver. Prokop. Fair catch called for. Chris Hale at the 28-yard line. Buffalo has it there, and we have 3:44. A gorgeous shot. Manhattan. World Trade Center. Sunday Night Football, which began in 1970, 21 seasons. Bo Jackson had the best ever night, 221 in that game at Seattle a couple of years back. Thomas right now has had the second best night, and Earl Campbell third. It's only the second time in the history of this series that a runner has gone up and over 200, and we have 18 minutes and 44 seconds to play.
Miami defense looking on. They held him to 23 yards last week.
He is not in the backfield at the moment because Kenneth Davis is there, and he takes it to the 34-yard line. If you're wondering about the NFL record, as Thomas comes back into the game, Walter Payton, all the way back in 1975, rushed for 275 yards against the Vikings.
Here's a little insult to injury. With this lead, Buffalo going with a no-huddle offense.
And out of the shotgun on 2nd down and 4. And out to the 41-yard line, the catch is made by the tight end Pete Metzelaars for a first down.
I think it's less that with Marv Levy as the head coach, Dan, than it is let's just work on this. We were very successful last week against Miami, and this is something you have to practice.
From the 42, here's Thomas, who picks up some receiving yardage, taking it to the 46 for a gain of 4. Mott makes the tackle. Bills again without a huddle. 2:45 to go in the 3rd. If you're just tuned in, you have to think Buffalo's trailing. They lead by 16. Kelly throws it away. And it will be 3rd down and 6.
Again, the Bills stay with the no-huddle offense. Designed, as we've talked about many times, to keep the defense from changing personnel, so you know exactly who they have out there.
Kelly fakes to Thomas. He has his tight end Metzelaars open at the 50, but opts to go deep downfield. And incomplete, intended for Andre Reed, who was covered very well on the play by James Hastings.
Kelly will look at the tape for that, and he'll say, oh, why didn't I pull that down? Nothing but empty field in front of him, and got man-for-man coverage, and they're not even looking at him.
Hard to imagine that Jim Kelly couldn't have run for at least 15 yards.
Rick Tootin to kick. Terrence Knapp is back for the Jets. Fair catch signal. Jets have it at the 23 with 2 minutes and 24 seconds remaining. Well, one thing about the Jets, even if they go down in this one and they'd be 1-2, they have about as soft a schedule as you could possibly imagine. That's one of the benefits of finishing last in a given season. The following year, they make it easy for you in terms of facing opponents. And the Jets this season will do something that hasn't been done in terms of the schedule in the history of the league, and we'll get to it in a second. At the 23-yard line as O'Brien goes back. Did that hit the official? Sure it did.
Yes, it did.
And that kind of night for the Jets.
I got hit umpire Rex Stewart.
Well, Chris Burkett was coming across the middle. He got buffeted around, and all of a sudden O'Brien had to try to throw the short pass.
Stewart plays in the half-dollar defense here.
There's Burkett. He almost gets knocked off stride, number 87.
Right on the... I think is that subject to review? So,
second and 10 at the 23. And here's Baxter going nowhere. And our first, the cascade of boos.
Kenny Wolf, our producer, raises.
Jets.
Kenny Wolf, our producer, raises a good point. He said the umpire looks like Christian Okoye in stripes. That's right. We'll let Christian go after Kenny. I don't want any part of it.
You've already got him, Al, in trouble with him.
Oh, no. He's my guy. He had a big day yesterday. Green Bay bouncing, or Kansas City bouncing back against Green Bay. Third down and 9 at the 24-yard line. And O'Brien converts as he hits Chris Burkett for a first down out at the 41-yard line.
You get the feeling, by the way, Burkett is being treated by the Buffalo secondary, that time Leonard Smith, that it's painfully obvious that he did not leave on the best of terms. Watch him break to the outside. The first guy there was Nate Odoms, and then in comes Leonard Smith, who attempts to decapitate Burkett.
Under a minute remaining in the third now. Buffalo up by 16. O'Brien has time and hits the open man. Mark Boyer, the tight end, at the Buffalo 45.
Oh, that time good pass protection for Kenny O'Brien. The blitz on by the Buffalo Bills, and they picked it up, gave O'Brien time to find the receiver.
Mike Haight goes limping off.
Good protection. And the man who really provided a good shot was Blair Thomas. He stepped up, and the rookie put the block on the linebacker that gave O'Brien the time to deliver.
Haight out.
No one can throw the ball like O'Brien when he has the time.
Dave's Watson in. Little toss. Thomas to the 40-yard line. Picks up 4, and that will do it for the third quarter. And we'll go to the fourth with Buffalo leading New York by 16. We'll return after this word from our ABC station. Started to mention earlier about the Jets and their soft schedule. They are the first team in the league since '73 not scheduled to play any teams that won 10 or more games the previous year. That's how soft the schedule is. And they've already, after tonight, completed the toughest part of their schedule: Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Buffalo. We start the fourth quarter. Buffalo ahead 23-7. And on 2nd and 6, O'Brien throws it nowhere.
Well, O'Brien threw it exactly where he wanted to throw it. It's Chris Burkett who did not read the coverage and turn upfield as Kenny O'Brien had expected him to do. And this is domination. Over 400 for the Bills. They were over 300 at halftime and have slowed their pace some, but still on their way to a huge offensive day or night.
3rd and 6. Coming across the middle and making the catch at the 24-yard line to pick up the first down and keep the drive going is JoJo Townsell. Shaken up earlier, back in the game, and a first down for New York.
And just another great effort by Kenny O'Brien. Flushed out of the pocket. He's not the niftiest of scramblers. He is little or no threat, but he slides around very well back there. He knows how long to stay in there. Now he slides out, and he has to throw it back where it's very difficult for a right-handed passer, but he gets there. He pays the price for it as Bennett collects him and knocks him to the turf.
1st and 10 at the 23-yard line. Look at this look for the Jets. Everybody in motion, and then they stop. And O'Brien off the play fake throws, and it's batted away and nearly picked off by Kirby Jackson. Rob Moore was the intended receiver.
Like a Canadian Football League formation.
I assume that was by design. I'm not sure that I would wager on it. People going everywhere. Look again at the protection up front. Cornelius Bennett being handled by Brett Miller.
2nd and 10, 23-yard line, opening minute, 4th quarter. Thomas flagged to the 20. Against the Jets.
This might be tight end holding.
Holding, 84 offense, 2nd down.
That's Chris Dressel, the tight end. He was at the point of attack.
Not me, Coach.
Yep. Let's watch the right side of our screen. There's Dressel working against Cornelius Bennett. Oh, you know what? That's a bad call. That's where Cornelius Bennett just falls to the ground. And from the sidelines, I guess it looked to the official that Dressel dragged him down. That was an excellent block by Dressel.
2nd and 20. O'Brien with a high throw, and it's incomplete as Rob Moore can't hold on. Kirby Jackson covering. 3rd and 20.
Go back to the huddle and say, can you just bring that down just a little bit? I've got to live with these ribs the rest of my life.
Jets are having a tough time living with the Bills. Last year in the 2 meetings between these 2 teams, Buffalo outscored them 71-3. And so if you count the last 2 games plus tonight, 94-10 Buffalo.
And they're going for a 6th consecutive victory.
Well, you can look at it this way. With the 7 points tonight, they've more than doubled last year.
3rd and 20, mistiming on the handoff, and that play goes nowhere. That didn't fool anybody except Blair Thomas.
The old half full, half empty.
I think you're right.
Leon Shields was there.
Look at the way this crowd is hung around, though, although it's a bit of a scramble for the exits after that play. But the vast majority of this crowd has remained here at the Meadowlands in New Jersey.
4th and 20, and the Jets, with 13 minutes to go, pretty much compelled to go for it.
Oh, this will make them
4th
nuts.
down.
Oh, and they automatic to that.
Yeah, they were going to run a quarterback sneak.
Ooh, that's tough. Open up the exits.
Yep.
And they're getting to an area where Marv Levy can think about taking out some of his starters.
Frank, you've been doing Monday Night Football for 20 years now. When we come back, why don't you explain that call?
All right.
Frank left. This week, guys, we're going to take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and they've done nothing to dispel the notion they are the best team in the AFC right now.
Off to a great start. Of course, Seattle off to a lousy start, and they have got to start doing something up there because the Raiders are one hot football team.
Thurman Thomas begins this drive out to the 31-yard line. So Boomer Esiason and company coming off their rout of New England yesterday, taking their perfect mark. 5 unbeaten teams in the NFL. A lot of folks thought it would be San Francisco and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. I, for one, I think predicted that on Good Morning America that morning, and they're both unbeaten at the moment.
I forgot what you said on Good Morning America.
And I forgot who I picked. Very conveniently.
Remember, all rights reserved, though. We can pick new teams every week.
If you have to go someplace to win a ball game, I'm not sure that the Kingdome in Seattle is the place that I would pick.
That's right.
Of course, the other way, Seattle's bound to beat somebody.
They almost beat Denver yesterday.
Yeah.
Don Smith makes the catch. And a first down out at the 40-yard line.
First down at the 41.
Under 12 minutes to play, 4th quarter. Buffalo on top, 23-7. Bills home next week, play Denver. And the Jets travel to Foxborough to meet the Patriots. First and 10 Bills up at the 41. Thurman Thomas adding to his spectacular night as he takes it out to the 50-yard line for a gain of close to 9. Thurman already up and over the 200-yard mark.
Again, behind the lead block of Jamie Mueller. Another missed tackle, that one by Mercereau, and just total domination up front by the Buffalo Bill offense. It's a very satisfying feeling to control a line of scrimmage as ably as they're doing tonight. And Thurman is, I think, signaling to the sidelines, you're watching my swan song. Looks like he wants to come out of the game after this.
2nd and 1, and he gets the 1 and maybe one more, taking it to the 48-yard line for a first down.
Oh, I wonder if he's aware of those numbers. I'm sure he must be feeling he's somewhere up around 200. Whether or not they're getting the full message to him, I don't know, but they're going to give him a break, and that might well be it for Thurman Thomas on the night. So I'm indicating that he wanted to come out.
Oh, he's got a problem with his helmet. He handed his helmet to one of the equipment men, and they're working on it rather feverishly down on the sideline.
So he handed a helmet to the equipment men to file this.
A mechanical problem.
From the 47. It's about the only way to stop Thomas tonight. Here's Davis. That last shot, you saw Ted Marchabroda, who has to be a pretty happy man, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, as they work on that helmet.
They put new shock absorbers in there.
There is Ted, very successful head coach when the Colts were in Baltimore in the late 70s. And that's a funny thing about the Bills. Everybody talks about their conservative offense, and they were #1 in the conference in scoring last year.
Kind of a student of George Allen, was with George Allen with the Rams, later in Washington, and everybody used to say that about George Allen, too. He played great defense, played with the turnovers, but you go back and look at some of those George Allen teams, they had pretty good success with conservative offense.
Good look at the line splits from the blimp.
Yep. That was Kelly taking the snap at about Cape May on the map.
INT, I believe.
James Hasty intercepted by Hasty back at about the 8.
Jim Kelly under some real pressure. I think Scott Mercereau comes around on a line stunt. Watch Mercereau. He's lined up right over the center. Now he's going to loop around to the outside, and he comes around unblocked. Kelly kind of off balance, not able to stride into the ball. Throws one that goes a little too high and a little too short. James Hasty just doesn't have a tough time making a play on that ball. Al Edwards was the receiver that wasn't able to come back and react. Is there any life left in the green jerseys? If they've got any, they better show it here.
9:08 to go. 1st and 10 at the 7. Buffalo ahead 23-7. O'Brien hits Townsell. And Townsell is able to get out of bounds up at the 18-yard line. First down.
Big night for Bruce Smith when he wasn't in O'Brien's face or making the key stop of a running play. He was taking on 2 or 3 Jets offensive linemen and tying up the entire offensive line.
From the 18, O'Brien overshooting the intended receiver, Terrence Mathis. 2nd and 10.
Well, watch this nice spin move here by Bruce Smith.
And he's 275 pounds. Watch this.
Well, watch what he gets for it. I think that's Mike Haight back in the ball game at left guard, helping out his left tackle. Good work. Smith. I mean, that's just...
2 of them couldn't handle him that time.
Well, that's just a you can't believe that a man that big can have a burst upfield the way Bruce Smith just did it right there, especially this stage of the ball game. That is nothing more than raw athletic ability for a man that size to move that quick. And Buffalo might have had 14 people on the field.
3rd and 19. A flag is down. The sack at the 1-yard line.
No, that'll come back. Buffalo they might have had 14 people on the field at the snap. If they get flagged for 12, that's a break.
Delay of game, 12 men on defense. 3rd down.
He only called 12 because 12 is all it takes for a penalty. If they tacked on an extra 5 yards for every man on the field, that'd have been a 20-yard penalty, I think.
Ball spotted at the 15, 3rd and 14. 8:23 left in the 4th. O'Brien, down he goes. It's a live football at the 12-yard line. Buffalo.
That'll be Chris Hale. Underneath, there were 2 Bills that had a shot at it.
That's Cornelius Bennett, though, Frank, that popped it out. Yeah.
And once again, Kenny O'Brien chased out of the pocket.
For a minute, I thought that was a real person.
Well, the inflatable doll, the infamous inflatable doll from 1988 is back.
There's Bennett, top of your screen. About this time, O'Brien has got to vacate the pocket. He knows somebody's coming, and he sure is.
Kenny even tries to put the ball away, but Bennett strips it away.
Hunter misses, and Chris Hale comes up with it.
Buffalo has it at the 13-yard line. Here's Davis. You're right, Dan. My heart was in my throat.
That's scary.
We're sitting here. We see this object coming out of the upper deck. And that's why I mentioned the inflatable doll. Fortunately, that's what it was. Shades of 88, that wild night at...
there it is.
There it is.
That
that's the same doll.
I mean, that literally just sailed right over our heads. I mean, I almost reached out and tried. It scared me too, Al.
Reached out to try to touch someone, didn't you?
That thing would have been out on the field. Bruce Smith would have knocked it down. He's knocked down everything else tonight.
2nd and 7 from the 10 is Jamie Mueller, and he is ridden down by Kyle Clifton. Well, it's clearly a much better behaved crowd than we saw here 2 years ago, and
because they've left.
Yes, well, most of them left in '88, but
the rest of them at barbecues.
We had fires in the stands and a lot of other things that precipitated the banning of certain beverages being sold at night games at Giant Stadium. 6:45 remaining. 3rd and 5. Lofton in motion. And Kelly hits his tight end McKellar for a touchdown. Keith McKellar.
The tight ends for the Bills have wreaked havoc against the Jets defense all night long. They haven't covered them yet. Rolled for the easy touchdown. Metzelar's earlier. McKellar a couple of times. He set up one Bills touchdown, but taking a long pass to the 1-yard line. And here he is wide open back of the end zone.
I think that might be it for Mr. Kelly.
I think that'll do it.
What a difference a week makes, because last week it was Miami 30, Buffalo 7. And 1 week later, it is Buffalo 30 and New York 7. 6:34 to go at Giant Stadium.
Look at me. I'm wide open.
Blimp hovering above Giant Stadium, and you can see off to the left the traffic beginning to build as the crowd exits.
One of those rare weekends, when both the Giants and the Jets were playing here.
With quite dissimilar results for the home folks. Giants very impressive yesterday, 20-3. By the way, what's the latest, Frank, on Lawrence Taylor, who was injured on the final play of the game yesterday?
I stepped down to the coach's room where Bill Parcells, the Giants coach, was looking at tape of the Washington-Dallas game. Dallas, of course, coming up for them, and said they feel a little better about it than yesterday. Still an iffy situation for Dallas, but I got the feel from Bill Parcells it wasn't quite as serious as they thought it was. So we could see him this week, and then the Giants have next week off.
Mathis brings the kick back out to the 39-yard line. Jets will have it there with 6:25 remaining.
Deerdorf estranged her brother.
Yeah, that's what it. There's the sign.
Wonder if he's got a job.
Nice ears.
You're looking live at Double D. Meanwhile, we were talking about Lawrence Taylor. Here was the play yesterday. Game was over at that point. Final play of the game. Giants were ahead by 17, and he went limping off.
After talking to Paul Parcells about Lawrence Taylor, and I talked to some of the assistant coaches, one of them said, we don't know how long he'll be gone because he's not like anyone else.
Well, I know that Parcells took a lot of criticism for having Lawrence Taylor in the ball game at that stage, but I mean, sometimes you just play your people to the end of the ball game. And I mean, take a look at who's in here for Buffalo. I mean, there's Bruce Smith. Cornelius Bennett is still in this ball game. Shane Conlon is still in this ball game. I mean, you are just sometimes in a situation where you keep your people out there and let them play. A coach doesn't worry about players getting hurt. That is not the way they think.
2nd and 10 as O'Brien throws. Catch is made up at the 45-yard line. Chris Burkett to the 46. It'll be 3rd and 2.
And further to that, who's to say that Bruce Smith, Shane Conlon, they are not under some kind of incentive contract? It's called for numbers of sacks, Pro Bowl, leading the league in sacks and tackles.
Well, how about this?
This is where you get good numbers with a team like this.
Bruce Smith was in Marv Levy's face last week, mad at Marv Levy for taking him out. Marv's liable to leave him in for every play of the rest of the season. Well, Bruce, you won it. Bruce, you got it.
Burkett makes the catch, and that's a first down for New York at the 47. Remember, last week, Kelly was out of the game. He took out the first unit offense. The score was 30-7. Smith was quite upset, emotional about it, demonstrative on the sidelines. Was fined $500.
Bruce, you may just play every down for the rest of the year.
He reportedly said, what are we trying to do? Lose the game? Marv Levy reportedly said, no, we're trying to win the game, and I'm the coach.
First down at the 47-yard line, and there's a flag for an obvious late hit. Leonard Smith.
Well, I think they're going to say that he tried to spear him more than being a late hit.
Yeah. It's a case of you have to make the tackle because he hasn't been touched,
right,
but not to that extent.
Leonard will hurl that body around.
Let's see, did he try to make it with the head? Yeah. You can see that.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. 46 on the defense, made contact after the ball was dead. 15-yard penalty. First down.
That might just be frustration, Dan. You know Leonard well. He hasn't been in on many tackles, whether by circumstances or what, tonight. He is one of the big hitters.
He's one of the big hitters of this game. A #1 draft choice of the Cardinals back when they were still in St. Louis.
First down, and again, he's all over the place.
You know, if they played the Jets every week, they'd put Bruce Smith in the Hall of Fame while he was still playing. This guy terrorizes the Jets.
They put Kenny O'Brien in Lennox Hill.
.4:53 to go. On 2nd and 10, O'Brien dropped. Number 80, Mark Boyer, the tight end. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Boyer, a big tight end, 242 pounds, and that's what the Jets were looking for when they let Mickey Schuler go, figuring that Boyer was a much better blocker than Schuler.
And they picked up Doug Wellsant from Cincinnati on waivers, another big tight end. So they have the big 3 tight ends, and Johnson likes to go with the 3 tight end offense.
On 3rd and 10, they pick up only about 4, but a nice effort by Boyer to try to get something out of it on the short pattern. Meanwhile, there's the key man tonight, Thurman Thomas. Among other things, he is now the leading rusher in the league after 3 weeks. Those are his numbers for tonight. There it is. Bobby Humphrey, 2nd. McCoy, 3rd. Anderson and Butts.
4 out of the top 5 in the AFC.
Jets going for it on 4th and 6, and it is incomplete as Blair Thomas could not make the catch on the ball that hits the turf. And so Buffalo will take over with 4:04 remaining.
And I think Bruce Cosgrove and the Jets are just facing reality. They've made tremendous changes in this team. 21 new faces on a 47-man roster. They've gone with youth. We're just talking about tight end Mickey Schuler playing good for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is gone because he didn't fit the system. So they made a lot of changes. They changed the offense numerically. They changed in every way. And, of course, coming off a big high, beating Cleveland last week, I think he probably anticipated more tonight. But, quite frankly, the Bills are a good football team, capable of being a great football team, and they played that way tonight.
Well, here's Frank Reich, who always seems to come in with a score 30-7. Jamie Mueller picks up 3.
We saw Frank Reich last year. We saw Reich pull a major upset last year.
The Los Angeles Rams.
He won 3 games in substituting for the injured Jim Kelly, and you're right, this makes 2 weeks in a row where Frank Reich comes in when it's 30-7. I think he finds this a much more ideal situation.
So does Levy.
Kelly on the sidelines, good numbers. Talked to him earlier. He said all we have to do to get rid of all the conversation, all the talk about bickering, is go out and play a big game. And they've done that.
2nd and 6. Kenneth Davis picks up a hard yard to make it 3rd and 5 as the clock ticks down to 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter. 30-7 Buffalo. Marv Levy, he of the Phi Beta Kappa Chi, co-college graduate.
More important
work at Harvard.
More importantly, when it comes to having head-on-head problems with his players, he of the complete backing of Ralph Wilson, the owner of the Bills.
Very much so.
And Bill Polian, the general manager, totally in support of Marv Levy.
Ralph Wilson, who has owned the Bills since day one, in attendance here tonight on 3rd down and 5. Davis takes it out to the 33. What did it cost Ralph Wilson to buy the Buffalo Bills when the AFL started in 1960? $25,000.
What did he lose for the first few years?
And that franchise,
mucho dinero.
well, I don't know if he lost that much, because that franchise right now is worth probably in excess of $100 million.
We need the old risk capital.
Ooh, that's a lot of money.
A lot of moolah. 2-minute warning at Giant Stadium, and the Buffalo Bills on their way to win number 2. We're talking about Ralph Wilson before, and there he is, one of the original owners. AFL coming into existence in 1960. Lamar Hunt owned at that time the Dallas team, now the Kansas City Chiefs.
Owners are gathering here in New York this week to discuss, among other things, the return of the developmental squad, or something like the developmental squad that they had a year ago and got rid of.
Fair catch call for at the 22-yard line.
I think they're using the terminology a practice squad. Oh, and here's a little tussle that brings out some flags. There's Leonard Smith with a bill shaved in the side of his head. Looks like Butch Roll and his good friend Joe Mott might have been at it.
We were talking about the owners of the original AFL franchises. Bud Adams would be another. He's owned the Houston team since its inception. Called those guys the Foolish Club. They were some fools, weren't they?
Joe Robbie.
25 grand into 100 million. Rushing.
Robbie and Danny Thomas.
Yep.
Miami Dolphins.
NFL leaders, Thomas through week 3. Vinny Testaverde leading the Bucks to that win last night over Detroit, has the top quarterback rating. Drew Hill of the Oilers has caught 20 balls, and Trace Armstrong of the Bears with 5 sacks as the Bears are off to a 3-0 start. 1:54 remaining. Baxter And he gets dragged down after a pickup of a couple. Mark Pike in on the stop. Reminder, coming up on ABC's College of Football regional action this week, Todd Marinovich and USC trying to rebound against the Buckeyes of Ohio State. At Columbus, some of you will see Ty Detmer, another tremendous day against San Diego State on Saturday, facing Oregon this week. Then we'll be at the Kingdome where the unbeaten Bengals take on the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football a week from tonight at 9 Eastern Time.
Meanwhile, we have a Buffalo Bill that's injured over at the 40-yard line. I believe that's Dwight Drain, one of their defensive backs. And boy, what a tragedy to have someone hurt at any time, but here especially under 2 minutes left in a ball game. They're obviously looking at the leg. I'd like to remind you that this telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the New York Jets and the National Football League is prohibited.
Just prohibited or strictly prohibited?
Well, did they leave strictly out of this?
Yeah, what happens?
Meanwhile, Dwight Drain still down on the field, so... Well, what a tough break.
On a meaningless play at the end of the game.
I think they're going to bring out some kind of a splint apparatus. Dr. Nicholas of the Jets walked out onto the field. Of course, the Bills have their own medical staff there, too, but they're being very careful and very tender with the leg of Dwight Drain.
Bruce Smith and Jim Kelly, two of the very key figures. Cornelius Bennett. Nate Odoms as well.
I'm sure all those guys unaware of the fact that on the other side of the field, one of their teammates is in trouble. You're back behind the bench and you're a long way from what's happening on the far sideline.
So Dwight Drain is the injured Buffalo Bill. 1 minute and 38 seconds remaining in this one as Buffalo gets set to take a 2-1 mark home next week against the Denver Broncos.
And the way they rebounded from the Miami loss has been rather extraordinary. It's what they talked about doing when we met with them today. Coach Marv Levy, Jim Kelly. It'll be interesting to see what develops over the year as we look down the line. We see them again against Houston later on in November. But they will all tell you, and they believe it. And they made a believer out of a lot of people tonight that they have great talent on this team. They just need something to bring it together. And then a lot of times adversity early on in the season can pull a team together.
Well, it will end on a sour note here for the Bills because of what you're watching take place, the injury to Dwight Drain. Quite clearly more than a minor injury. Drain, the defensive back, plays in the nickel and the dime for them. See if we can discover what happened here on that particular play.
Watch this right here. This is Dwight Drain. Now let's watch him as his right leg, I think, gets caught. Or is that his left leg that gets caught underneath there? Very difficult to see exactly what happens. But you can see at that point right there, Drain trying to crawl out in pain. And he goes off the field on the card, and we wish him well. A shot of our production truck.
Or the stealth bomber, one or the other. As you alluded to earlier.
But that was Cape Canaveral.
Captain and pilot, Joe Chavo.
Yeah. 2nd and 6 for the Jets now from the 42.
The Starship Chavo.
Buffalo on top 30-7. And Johnny Hector picks up a couple. Our producer, Ken Wolf, director Craig Janoff, as always. Joe Shavo, our technical director, associate director Ben Harvey, assistants to the producer Rick Abbott and Kurt Fluger. And for those of you without audio,
there they are.
Bob Simon, Dennis Zabo, Jim Licata, Steve Hurd, our non-Perel director of information, and to our guys upstairs, Malibu Kelly Hayes and George Hill. Extraordinary work as always, and we thank you.
Yeah, for you people in the local newsrooms around the country, the Jets pick up the first down.
At the 47-yard line with 38 seconds remaining in the game. Hector. And the game will end on a 7-yard pickup by Johnny Hector. So the Jets go limping off to New England. After their victory over Cleveland last week, they cannot sustain it. And they are thoroughly beaten tonight by the Buffalo Bills, who take their 2-1 mark home to Rich Stadium in Buffalo next Sunday. Very impressive performance by the Bills.
Interesting the score compared to last week.
Sure.
They lost to Miami by the same score.
And I think we can say that Marv Levy has reestablished control of the sometimes turbulent Buffalo Bills squad. He flexed his muscles. He got in a bit of a skirmish with some of his players, and Marv Levy comes out on top and in command.
I am the coach.
Yep.
He departs with a big smile. As the Bills win it 30-7, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf. We'll talk to you next Monday night from Seattle, the Bengals and the Seahawks.